And today we're going to be making a masculine card with this stamp set. And this is a fabulous stamp set. It's a 2-box set. So you have 2 cases, and it comes in the clear mount and it comes in the wood mount. There's also a die set for it. So it is available as a bundle starting tomorrow. It's called the Nature's Roots Framelits dies. And what's unique about these dies is that you have some embossing pieces and you also have cutting pieces. So you can layer, for example, this large leaf that only embosses. You can layer that, if I put it in properly, you can layer it inside the cut die and you can cut and emboss at the same time. So that's pretty cool. You can also use the embossing dies separate from cutting and make your own I guess, not embossing folder, but your own embossed background pieces. So that's going to be fun to do. And to help you do that, coming out in the new annual catalog, which I was starting to play with today, and then I got kind of busy with all the retiring sales and didn't have a chance to really play with it, is the new Big Shot embossing mats. So it's a set of a plate and 2 different embossing mats. And there's a whole bunch of new embossing dies that are coming out in the new catalog. So if you don't have anything like this, you're definitely going to want to pick that up when the catalog goes live tomorrow. Make sure you grab that. So for today, we're just going to be keeping it simple because today's a really busy day for all of us in Stampin' Up! Land. So I don't want to be here too long with you, keeping you here forever. But I have the Rooted in Nature stamp set. I have my dies, and then I have my little container here of my Love It, Chop It pieces. And I introduced you to those as well on Tuesday. For our masculine card today, we're also going to be using the burlap ribbon. I just love this ribbon. I know a lot of people have a love it or hate it relationship with it, but I happen to love it. I think it adds a lot of great texture to cards. There's a lot of different ways you can use this ribbon. I just love it. It's a must-have for me. We're also going to be using dimensionals because I love to pop things up. And we're also going to be using a couple of our markers. So I have the Tranquil Tide marker. That's an in color. And I also have our soft suede. So I have my 2 markers. And we're also going to be using my most favorite dies. And if you've been watching, you know that already about me. The Stitched Shapes. So if you don't have those yet, those are a Mary's must-have. So from the stamp set today, we're going to be inking up the tree image. This, unlike our Lovely as a Tree, does have a die cut. Okay, so you can die cut your tree out of this set. And we're also going to be playing today with one of the greetings, and I'll show it to you right here. You are wonderful. So I do have a sample prepared for you. It's a little bit different than the card that we're actually going to make in that I changed the greeting. So this is the card we're going to make today. It's a nice masculine card, I think. I think it would also be good for a sympathy card, for a unisex sympathy card. But I'm going to take a masculine spin to it today. And I've used the retiring. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is retiring. Now, where did I put the stamp set? Oh my gosh. So Teeny Tiny Wishes, if you don't have this set, it is retiring. I can't believe it. It's been around forever. And I have to say goodbye to it. They used to put the year that it came out on the sticker, but I don't think it's on this one. But I have had this for so long, and it's going away, and I'm really sad. So I had used that on my sample, and I had done a Happy Father's Day. So I had made a Father's Day card, but I only need one. So I'm going to mix it up for today's class, and we're going to use the You Are Wonderful greeting instead. So we're going to create this card just a little bit of a different spin, all right? And then at the end, I'll show you how I did the inside. All right, so let's clean this work surface so we can get started. I introduce you to everything we're going to use, and then I need to take it away so I can actually use it. I have a very limited space right here to play in. All right, so I'm going to leave my markers out. I'm going to leave out my stamps. I don't need the ribbon because I've already cut some. I'm going to leave my sample out, and I'm going to tuck it in a corner so you can actually see it while I'm stamping. So hopefully you guys are having a great day. We've been having some really wonky weather here. It pours rain, and then the sun comes out and it's hot and sticky and muggy. And then about a half hour later, it pours rain again. It's just really unstable today. So for today's card, I have and I'm starting to space out because I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Soft suede. I have my soft suede card base, and I'm doing this the long way today. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 standing up. Then I have some loved and chopped pieces of Designer Series paper. So I have the 4 by 5 1/4 inch of a wood grain. Then I have the 4 by 5 1/4 inch fern. And then from one of my other 4 by 5 1/4 inch pieces, I simply cut a 1 inch strip. All right. So if you can see the bottom of my mat here, which I think you can just see it, there's a 1 inch strip. All right. So I cut that off and I have the rest of it left over. So I've got a 1 inch strip. So these are the pieces of Designer Series paper we're going to use today. And then I have my traditional mat. All right, which we talk about all the time when we're discussing Love It, Chop It. And while I'm taking that opportunity and take a pause, I'm going to plug you guys in because I'm not sure how much battery I have. Like I said, today's just been crazy. And then I have, for my stamping, for my tree, I have some scrap Whisper White. So we're going to start with our stamping because I want that tree to dry a little bit before I fussy cut him out. So actually I want to start here with soft suede, and I want the brush tip end. So if you're not familiar with our markers, there's a brush tip end and a fine writing end. And the brush tip end has the wider white band, and the writing end, the fine tip end, has the narrow white band. So I'm going to take my marker, and hopefully you can see this okay. I'm having trouble telling what kind of lighting we are experiencing at the moment. I'm just going to draw my trunk. Now this image, if you look closely at the stamp set, which I just dropped the ribbon on the floor, you can tell that there's some trunk that comes up through the middle of that pine tree. So we have to make sure that we get all those little bits, all right? So there's one right here, then there's another one right here, and then there's a teeny tiny little baby one right there, all right? So I colored that in, and now I'm gonna come back, and I have the Tranquil Tide, and I'm going to color the leaves of the pines, fill those in, being careful not to color over my trunk. And this is the most tedious part of it all. Oops, I have a little something on there. I guess it's not stamping if you don't have an opportunity to get ink on your fingers, right? I'm just coloring directly on the rubber. Watching again for my trunk. And if I don't get it all, it's okay, because I can always fill it in with the marker after, but I'd like it to be as accurate as possible. And then I'm just going to come in and darken this up just a little bit. Moisten that up again. I always find a couple of coats is better safe than sorry. Then I'm just going to huff on it with my breath. Get that all nice and steamed up. And all that's going to do is moisten the ink that might have dried while I was doing all that coloring. So we're just going to let that sit for a second because I don't want to rock. Okay, so there's our tree. And if you notice, even with the coloring direct on the rubber, I still was able to manage to get an oops, but that's okay because we're going to cut it out with the die and no one's going to know. So we're going to have that, and then I need to do my oval. So if you can see over here, when I was building this card and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, I actually stamped the greeting after I had kind of gotten my layout together. So I know I need to go to the bottom right corner, but I'm not sure exactly where that's going to be in relationship to the die. So this time I'm going to stamp first and cut later. All right, so that was done with the Tranquil Tide. So I got my Tranquil Tide ink pad, and you'll notice if you start to order ink pads from the new catalog, they're going to be a different style. So this is the older style of ink pad, so don't let that confuse you if you're new and you start ordering and your ink pads look different than some of mine. And I made a giant mess. Look at how much ink I got on the edge and on that block. Ah! I'll tell you. This is why my craft room always has a fresh drawer of Q-tips. I cannot craft without my Q-tips. And I'm just going to ink that up a little bit more just to make sure I didn't take off too much. So I'm going to stamp this directly on my Designer Series paper piece. I'm going to close that up because we all know that I have a habit of making a mess. And then, see how that stamped onto there, all nice and neat? We're going to put that aside for a second and let it just do some drying because this paper isn't as porous as, say, the Whisper White or the Very Vanilla. So we're just going to let him dry for just a tiny bit and we'll do some assembly. So I'm going to just take the Designer Series paper and I'm going to attach it to the front of the card. And I had a tube of glue. Where did my tube of glue go? I'm not as organized as I was yesterday. Or Tuesday. I had to tear, I gotta find a glue. I had to tear my organization system apart because I'm using a 31 fold-in file on my work table. Now I'm throwing stuff around. I'm using a 31 fold-in file to keep everything for class organized on my table. And I had some questions come up about storage solutions, and I had to borrow the fold-in file, so I have to figure out where I put it when I was done. I'll tell you, today's just been crazy. Having the last day of the annual catalog for Stampin' Up! It's also the final day of our mega promotion, our mega customer specials for 31. It's also the end of the annual year for 31, which I didn't realize because I've only been with them, a little over a month. So there's just a lot happening right now. It's crazy, but it's all like a great kind of crazy. My head's just spinning, but in a good way. It's all good. Everything's awesome. Having way too much fun. All right, so now I've got my 1-inch strip, and I just want to lay that over this piece of designer paper over to the left edge, and I'm using the liquid glue so that I can line them up as perfectly as I can. It's the most unforgiving adhesive on the planet, that glue. And then I'm going to put that aside, and we're going to do our die cutting. So I'm going to make room here to bring in my Big Shot. Probably should put the cap on that. That was a brand new glue. All right. So I got the Big Shot, and I'll tune in. Oh, so Danette says, loves my videos because I'm so real. Yeah, I'm a hot mess. You don't get more real than that, right? But thank you. I appreciate that, because sometimes when I end these videos, I just shake my head and I go, oh my gosh, Mary, you should not be doing this, chick. And so thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm going to take my tree image, and he fits so nice and perfect right over that stamped image. So much better than fussy cutting. And we're going to pop him through. Sorry about wiggling, you guys. I think any day that I don't shoot you guys right off the table using my Big Shot is a good day. Because there's always that fear. You could end up out in the rice fields, right? Go right out my window. All right, so now I'm going to die cut my You Are Wonderful. And let's see how I positioned this baby. All right, so I know I want it down towards the bottom right, but I also want it fairly straight. And I know I have a little wiggle room because of the stitching. So I think that is gonna look okay. So we're gonna go with that and see how it works out. All right, here we go, moment of truth. It's either gonna work out good or be another epic failure. Oh, and look, the handle came off again. I still haven't found the screw. Haven't even really looked for it. Obviously, haven't called Stampin' Up! To see if I can get a replacement screw. If they were watching me now, they'd be laughing. Along with everybody else. Okay, so let's see how that turned out. That turned out good. I like that. Okay, so this piece, because I used a Love It, Chop It piece, I'm just gonna file this back away in its little box and save it for another day. Because we can use that little piece. And I'm also going to return my tree to his envelope, because that heart die I lost a couple of weeks ago still has not shown up, and I think it's just gone. I think I'm just gonna have to mourn it, because I'm beginning to think I'm never going to find it. That's just the sad, sad truth. Now, what did I do with that box? I don't know what I did with the box. I had the box of all of my pre-cut paper. I don't know where it went. So I guess this is just gonna have to get put aside for a minute. Oh, is that, oh, there it is. I found it. I'm trying to get in the mode of putting everything away as I work. Because if you saw this table when I was done with one of these live classes, you would just shake your head with wonder. It's pretty funny. All right, so the next thing we're doing is we're gonna do our assembly. So I have my length of burlap ribbon. And what I've done here is I've split it down the middle, okay? So here's the other half, all right? So I just took my length and I took my scissors and I cut all the way down the middle. So I made it narrower because I didn't want all the bulk of having the full width. So I've cut that down, and then I have my dimensionals. So everything on here is popped up with the exception of this panel. This panel I actually adhered to the card front because it's gonna be way too bulky if we put the dimensionals on. It'll be 3 high. Because the tree is popped up on top of the oval, which is popped up on the card front. So this has to be flat glued. Otherwise, it's going to have to be shipped with mega postage or handed off in a bag. So I still want it mailable. So we're just going to lay this on the card front as if we had it all assembled so we can get it positioned the way we want it. So I have my You Are Wonderful, and I want it down towards the bottom but more towards the right. And then I tied the ribbon over that. So this is going to be over the oval. I'm just laughing because Danette's laughing about being shot out into the rice fields. Well, if you've watched my videos and you've seen my backyard, we literally have rice fields behind us, and that's where you would end up if you got shot out my craft room window, because I overlook the rice fields. And you don't want to be out there because there's alligators out there. We saw a baby this morning, and then we heard one of the adults doing his mating call. And if you've ever heard an alligator do a mating call, it's actually pretty cool. All right, so I'm just going to tie this into a simple knot. But I don't want to swim with the alligators, so we're not going to go out there. Can only imagine. That would not be fun. My dog wanted to jump in today. She startled a bullfrog, and she wanted to jump in after it. I'm like, oh no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go jump after the bullfrog. You can just stay right here. I'm gonna snip my ends. I really don't want to see my dog eaten by an alligator. No, thank you. All right, so now I'm just gonna run this up to the top, about like there. And I need some dimensionals for my little tree. And if you watched on Tuesday, and I hate to use these snips, but like I said, don't know where the other stuff is. I'm cutting the outside border here on the dimensionals. I'm just gonna run my scissors and shave off a little bit of that edge. So now I have a nice skinny piece of dimensional to put on my trunk. All right, the trick is just going to be getting it on there from my position without you looking at the back of my head, which doesn't look as bad as it did the other day because I got my hair dyed. So you won't be looking at roots anymore. And actually, I think these are too big. I think I want minis. I'll get the minis instead. On this one, I didn't run such a long strip, so I had room for the bigger ones. I cut a pretty long strip this time. So I used the minis. I love the minis. And then depending, I can't forget, depending on where this tree ends up, we may need to put a double layer. So let's see, I think right here, see how that mini tucks right in there? Look at how perfectly, that little tiny spot can take a dimensional. And I'm just gonna stack, I need to stack them too high because it's going off the oval. So if I don't do it too high, it'll be all sunken and it'll look silly. All right. Just pick off these little teeny tiny backings. You guys still hanging with me? Oh, good. Everybody seems to like the card. I'm glad. All right, so we're gonna take this, and I don't want the ribbon on touching the tree. Like, I don't want that part of the tree over the ribbon. I want it like that way. There. That looks much better. And just straighten him out a little bit. All right, so now we just have to put this down. And I'm going to apologize. I'm using Fast Fuse because it's what I have. I am out of snail. And Fast Fuse was discontinued. And yes, I'm still pouting and crying over it. All right, now, oh, what did I do with it? I need my tear and tape. So now I'm gonna put some tear and tape on, if I can find the end, because I wanna go over this ribbon so that it doesn't shift on me. If you're using dimensionals, you can usually prevent that from happening by the way that you put your dimensionals on, but with the, we're not popping it up on dimensionals, so we have to do something different. So I'm just gonna use tear and tape. I'm afraid if I try to use the Fast Fuse on the back of that burlap ribbon, it's gonna get real ugly real fast. All right, so now we just have to put the front onto the card base, and I have very little border here. And if you know me, I don't usually like to use Fast Fuse because it doesn't forgive errors. All right, so there's our card. It's all finished. Very quick and easy card if you're doing it at home. All right, and there's our little twines. I think that would make a really nice masculine card for any occasion, a birthday, just using the You Are Wonderful, for the Happy Father's Day, a sympathy card. I think it would be a great masculine card. I think it would also be a great unisex card, like I said earlier, for a sympathy card, or for just a nature-loving friend like me. Now for the inside of the card, I'm just gonna show you super quick. I see a lot of hearts. Oh, look at all the little hearts going by. Thanks, guys. For the inside of the card, I just did a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of Whisper White, and then the same designer series paper that we used over here. I cut a 1/2 inch strip and I adhered it to the inside, just along the left edge. And then I did the exact same thing with the tree, where I colored the trunk in and then colored in the leaves, and I just stamped it on the bottom right corner. So both cards are finished exactly the same. All right, so that's our card, and I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, as I kind of push everything away over here, once again, we used the Rooted in Nature stamp set, which is a 2-box set. So we have our 2 Rooted in Natures. We used this on Tuesday, so if you need an additional 2 ideas, because we did 2 cards Tuesday, you can replay the video from Tuesday. I also used my designer series paper that has already been lovingly chopped, all right, and it's in its Love It Chop It case right there. And we also use the Coordinating Nature's Roots framelits dies. So all of this product will be available tomorrow from the new annual catalog when that goes live. I can't wait, I'm so excited. And the Love It Chop It Club, I'm going to be sending out the hostess code for the Love It Chop It Club, either probably tomorrow morning, because today's just been super crazy, and I want to make sure I get all my T's crossed and my I's dotted. So the Love It Chop It Club hostess code will be going out tomorrow morning. If you have interest in the Love It Chop It Club, send me a private message. I've already gotten quite a few, and it's much easier for me to maintain my list from the private messages than it is for you to comment here. Okay, so if you're interested in the club, send me your request, and I'll get you that information first thing in the morning. There's really no point in my putting it together tonight because the catalog doesn't go live till tomorrow. And orders for that club will be due by June 15th. And on June 15th, once I have everybody's orders placed, I will be sending out all of the 2 free tutorials that are earned, as well as any additional customer specials that I have going on for that month. So as I said, more information will be forthcoming tomorrow morning, and I look forward to stamping with you. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the card. I hope you're excited about tomorrow and the new catalog. I hope you will heed my warning and go and double, triple, quadruple check and make sure you have all of your retiring ink colors and ink pads, your ink refills, your cardstock, your designer series papers that you loved, your embellishments like your ribbons and your trims and your whatnots, because once tonight hits the stroke of midnight Mountain Time, it's over. And you won't be able to get those products again. So please, please, please double, triple check. My online store is open through the midnight hour, but remember it's Mountain Time, okay? So you have to account for your time zone. All right, that's it. I'm going back to work, and I look forward to stamping with you again soon. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a private message or comment here on my page.